The CFP committee got together February 20th, just a couple of days ago, and had a vote on reformatting the current college football playoff format. We talked about it last week that the 5+7 was probably what was going to happen. And by 5+7, I mean the 5+7 model, where you've got 5 automatic bids and then 7 at large teams rather than the 6+6 model, which is what we were at in college football originally. Did they make the right move and go into this 5+7, Mason? What do you think?
Well, the right move is to get rid of it altogether and say the top 12 teams make it, right?
Yep.
Um, there are people who want to be more inclusive in college football, and while I understand that, I think that you're actually excluding teams that are deserving by doing this. You know, if in my opinion here, if you've got the top 12 teams in the country, right, that means that Missouri and Ole Miss make it this year. And I just feel like, in comparison to a Big 12 champion, those teams would be deserving, right? In the new format, the Big 12 champion, might have been, gosh, I don't know who it would have been this year if it wasn't Texas, but I guess Oklahoma State, But I feel like if you're putting Oklahoma State in over Ole Miss or Missouri of this past year, that's not right. I don't think Oklahoma State was that good. So I think that it's better than the 6+6 model, which is something we said last week. But I think that we're also moving towards the actual model, or what it should be, which is the top 12 teams get to go in. And probably beyond that, if we're really going to stretch, further on and into the future, we're probably going to get to a 16-team playoff at some point. But I'm not ready to have that conversation yet. so what's your take on this, though? What do you think about the 5+7 model? And I think that we're in agreement, but I'd like to hear kind of your insight on it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there at the end about the 16-team playoff, and I think that that's what we are gearing up for with this 5+7. And I think that that's going to be what I think that's what the College Football Playoff Committee is going to run with, rather than actually fixing the problem and saying, let's do the 12 best teams and that being the 12 top ranked teams. That's what they should do, Mason. You're absolutely right. And I agree. But I think they're going to say, well, we need these automatic bids because we don't want to get rid of conference championships. Obviously, they don't want to get rid of conference championships because they're incentivizing them. So I think that is kind of showing us what direction the College Football Playoff Committee, how they're thinking. And what do you expect? This is representatives from conferences, right? They don't want their conference to disappear because
Mm-hmm.
there's no conference championship. Why would there be a conference in the first place, right? Other than scheduling. So this is, I think what we said last week was absolutely accurate in the fact that this is putting a Band-Aid on a cut that needs stitches. College football is changing at a rapid pace. It's no secret. And that horse has been beat to death. But this is just part of, what comes with that territory of all this changes. We're going to have some rough patches here, and there's no college football commissioner. Okay. There's nobody to step up and say, this is what we're doing. This is what's best for the sport. We've got a bunch of Chiefs and not enough Indians going on here. And look, we need to get rid of conferences. We don't need conference championships because we don't need automatic bids. We need the 12 top ranked teams going to the playoffs. But that's not what's going to happen right now. The 5+7 model, I think, is better than what we had. But it makes me question, what is it going to take for college football to have its cake and eat it too? It's like we've got to figure out what we're willing to change about the sport and what we're not. I mean, for the longest time, college football was built on tradition. And now, as little things are being torn apart, it's like some people are still holding on to tradition, but yet all this is changing. We've got to change with the times, don't you think? I mean, we got to get rid of these conferences.
I agree. I'm not sure how close we are to that, but at this point, this is becoming a professionalized league. And whether you're for it or against it, that's what it is right now, right? There are reports coming out now that Nick Saban wants to help, bring college football into this space of just being better, not necessarily a professional, sport, but being better overall because it's unrecognizable. The student athlete is no longer a thing. It's not a student athlete. It's just an athlete who's getting paid to come play at a certain university. So um, I think that the times are changing for sure, and it is to further your point. I think that it is about time that college football kind of get with the times, not ditch certain traditions, but understand that we're in a new age. And I don't think that a conference that these conferences are really suited for college football. At least I don't know about the non-revenue generating sports and how much not having a conference would benefit them. But for football, I just don't see it being very necessary at this point.
Yeah. Well, and with that being said, football needs to be its own independent thing, and in a lot of cases, it is. So just because a football team goes to a certain conference doesn't mean the basketball team goes to that conference necessarily, and that's kind of my point. I think we need more separation there because you're right. This is becoming a professional league, but you've only really got two leagues, conferences that is, in this league that are the big leagues, and that's the SEC and the Big Ten. And then you've got the ACC and the Big 12 that are just not up to par with the other two. There's, and that's where the automatic bids problem comes in, because obviously this college football playoff committee doesn't respect the ACC. They don't respect that conference title. Otherwise, Florida State would have been in the college football playoff this past year.
Yeah.
They don't respect that ACC title, but yet if you win that ACC title, not only are you going to the playoffs in this format, you are going to have a bye in the first round.
Yeah.
So
What?
how is that fair to the second place SEC team
Mm-hmm.
that's the runner up and doesn't get that bye and could possibly have to go play a road game to further their college football playoff national championship run?
Yeah.
This is not a fair system. And I'll be the first person to come on here and tell you college football's never been fair. Okay. If you're looking for fair college football, there's 130 plus teams in one league. Nobody plays the same schedule. Nobody plays the identical schedule. Nobody plays all the same teams. So nothing's fair about that. So I concede that notion, but this is not a good system at all.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just say, if you win your conference championship, um, the top 5 ranked teams that win their conference championship will for sure be in the college football playoff, but not the top 5 seeds in the college football playoff. So if, for
Yeah.
example, um, let's say, I guess a good example would be like Oklahoma State last year. Let's say that Texas is not in the SEC, so Oklahoma State wins the Big 12. They shouldn't be fourth. It would probably be fourth because there'd be,
Right.
a group of 5 team that would end up getting the 5 slot, but they shouldn't be fourth they shouldn't be seated fourth, right? It's going to look
No.
really weird for a casual fan or an outsider who's watching the sport for the first time because the playoffs are on and their local team is playing in the game and they say, wait a second, Coastal Carolina is the 5th best team in the country? Since
Right.
when? It doesn't make sense. But I could see if Coastal Carolina gets in and they get the 12 seed because they won their conference championship. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense to me. But I don't think that they should automatically be a top 5 team. And unfortunately, I don't think that was ever on the table. That question was ever on the table. And I don't think that we're ever going to see that. I think that we're going to go from this model currently to just the 12 best teams. I'm crossing my fingers that after 2 seasons, which is the current format, is under contract for the next 2 seasons. After these next 2 seasons, we'll see some change, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, in this format that we have, the team ranked number 5 will host number 12, number 6 will host number 11, number 7 will play team number 10, and team number 8 will meet team number 9. So you're creating, whenever you're giving these automatic bids, you're creating holes and you're creating more opportunities for somebody to have an easy run to a national championship game. And what I think you're creating is another Georgia TCU situation.
Right.
You're still allowing a team to slip through those cracks that doesn't deserve to be there. And the whole point of this 12-team playoff was to give more teams an opportunity, and that's great. But I think it creates some unfair advantages for some teams, especially whenever you've got a team like, that comes out of the SEC and has to go play another the second best team in the SEC, and then go into the playoffs. While you have a Big 12 team that's going to automatically get a bye that first round, that's just horrible. Y'all let us know what you think in the comment section about this.